Hello and welcome to the Miko Bits Show, and I'm your host, Miko Bits, and today I have another exciting show for you. It's Amy Wan, the founder and CEO of Bling, and Bling is one of these blockchain game companies, but I think what you're going to learn is that it's not a completely run-of-the-mill so-called blockchain gaming company. So I think that we're going to have a twist in this tale. And so I really think that that's going to be exciting. But before we go there, I want to make sure that you understand that this video program is opinion only and it's information and entertainment. It's not supposed to be investment advice. So seek a licensed professional for any of that. Before we start, if you're interested in Bitcoin and blockchain, please consider clicking that subscribe button and also click the bell so you can get notifications about future videos that I might post. Thank you. So without further ado, it is Amy Wan, CEO of Bling. Amy, how's it going?
Good. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. My opening question for all guests is, how did you get involved in blockchain technology?
Oh gosh. Once upon a time, I worked in the federal government. And if you know anything about working in the federal government, it just means you push around policy papers. Um, and people just keep pushing around the same policy for several years. So I was getting really frustrated and bored. And so I decided I wanted to learn how to code. So I think I probably went on to like Coursera or something, which was super new at the time. And the coding class there, the professor said, "Hey, code a website and ask people for Bitcoins." And I was like, "What is this Bitcoin thing?" So that's the first time I heard about it.
Amazing.
And this was back in 2012. So, kind of early on.
Yeah.
And then when I, moved back to LA from DC, I wanted to do something that was newer. A lot of law is just old, it's stale, there's too much to learn. And I saw that, hey, there's like a lot of regulatory stuff around crypto, like a lot of unfigured out
Oh, yeah.
regulatory stuff. And so I thought, hey, that might be a good avenue to look into getting into this.
That's fantastic. Well, what I did want to say is, first of all, just as a matter of disclosure, since I am speaking with someone who has legal training, that, I'm actually part of a general partner with a venture fund that is invested in Bling, which is Amy's company. So, just want to let the audience know that that's a disclosure that I have to make. But one of the things I did want to say in that context is that, we're very excited to be an investor in this, and if I understand it properly, this is like a first time startup CEO role for you, right? So like,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, so, we thought that, this is a very, we got to know Amy a bit through her prolific speaking engagements at crypto conferences and events, mostly representing perspectives around legal sort of perspectives and regulatory perspectives on this important emerging blockchain space. But being impressed by the person, we thought that this would be a great opportunity to invest in her startup. And, that was, I think, a great experience for us. And, we've been incredibly pleased by all of your entrepreneurship over the years and your quite amazing success so far. So, I think you have a profitable startup company, which in this day and age is enviable and valuable. So, so congratulations.
And I have to say thank you for, taking the leap of faith with us and spending so much time with us. And, you and Roy and everyone at Gumi you guys have been amazing investors.
Oh, thanks so much. I mean, we definitely are excited. And I think the main topic of this event is actually crypto gaming. And so, for us, like Gumi has its origins as a mobile gaming company in Japan. And so, the thing that's interesting about crypto gaming from my personal side is, while I am kind of a gamer from long ago and, occasionally still play some games, like I'm I'm not really that knowledgeable about game investing. I'm much more knowledgeable about kind of blockchain and really, if you want to go back in time, kind of open source software and developers, right? And that's more of my kind of core. But I would say this, right, which is that blockchain gaming is something that is rapidly emerging. And I'd love to get kind of your perspective. So, Amy, as a kind of successful founder, entrepreneur, CEO in the blockchain gaming space, tell us your kind of unique perspective, on blockchain gaming.
Yeah. So, first of all, I think I'm going to kind of clarify terms, right? So I think
Sure.
a lot of people say blockchain gaming, and immediately the first thing that they think about is NFTs or
Yes.
non-fungible tokens.
Non-fungible tokens. Can you
And
can you for the beginners, like what is an NFT or what is a non-fungible token?
basically, think about, I think the easiest way to think about this is think about any card game that you have ever played, even it's like Pokemon cards, right?
Yeah.
There's always there's always going to be something of value, right? And so the idea of non-fungible tokens is, at least in gaming, is hey, I can actually take this and do something with it. Maybe I can put it in another game. Maybe I can sell it on the secondary market. And today, that's not something that really exists in the gaming world. Um, so, I think blockchain gaming has a pretty wide umbrella. And right now, 80-90% of the attention is focused on companies that are in the non-fungible token space. And
Yes.
that's great. I think it's going to be great for card games, great for collectibles. We are a little bit different. Our company, the way blockchain plays a part in our company is that we reward our users with Bitcoin. So Bling is it's a mobile loyalty and rewards platform for Bitcoin. Our users basically they come in, they play our games, and reward them for their loyalty through Bitcoin. And so obviously, because Bitcoin is on blockchain, that's how blockchain kind of plays a role in our company. And we can get into interesting topics like transaction fees and stuff like that later on. But
And
we
and
came up
and
with,
and for a little more, like what's the web URL? Like where would
oh,
people go visit to see what you're up
yeah.
to?
So our website is blingfi.com. So
Yep.
blingfi.com.
Yep.
And right now we are on Android only. We've got 4 games on Android. So
Yep.
our most prominent game is Bitcoin Blast. It's kind of like, it's a match 3 game, kind of like Candy Crush, right?
Yep.
Um, and, I think we kind of approached the question or the gaming industry from a much different perspective. For us, when you guys invested in us,
Yes.
we had a very different concept,
Yeah.
right?
Talk about that.
Yeah. So, my co-founder and I, we both come from fintech companies, and for me, it's like legal tech and fintech. So we looked at the smart contract space, thought that there were a lot of gaps, and originally had a concept and raced around bridging those gaps. But smart contract technology is very futuristic. It's there's not a huge total addressable market today, and that was probably one of the first things I learned in this entrepreneurial journey is if you're going to play the long game, you have to want to survive the long game, and the long game might be several decades, right?
Yes.
And we were like, well, we're not really into that. So when we kind of got a whiff that it wasn't working, we thought, well, what is a need in the market today, right? Either for the overall ecosystem, and then for us specifically, we want a successful company. And so we thought, where is a large total addressable market? And so we looked at the gaming industry. It's huge. Mobile gaming in particular
Yeah.
is just skyrocketing. Every single year it just goes it grows larger and larger. And right now during COVID, everyone's at home on their phones, bored to that death, and they're just playing games, right? So the expectation is this year it's going to grow even faster. So we kind of looked at this gaming industry and we said, hey, the gaming industry they're really good first adopters. And
Yes.
so how can we mix crypto and games? And so the problem that we came up with was, hey, it's really scary today to get into crypto. There's a huge educational gap, right? Like, I asked my brother, do you own any Bitcoin? He's like, oh no, it's too expensive. And he didn't know you could own fractions of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You have to know, you have to be willing to take your hard earned money and take that investment plunge. It feels like an investment, right?
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
heavy.
always a scary thing. It's very heavy. And then, it's like all the technical hurdles. You got to like connect bank accounts to like, convert fiat to crypto and all that stuff. It's like a multi-step
It's
process. And
a bunch
so,
of adulting.
yes. And so we thought, okay, how can we kill a couple birds with one stone? And so we said, hey, what if we gave people crypto for free and they could earn it instead of buying it so it doesn't feel nearly as scary? We created a really fun experience for it as opposed to a daunting experience. And it's a way for people to earn their first crypto without having to take the scary plunge. And so that's what we did. We launched our first game 14 months ago. Now we have 4 titles and we have over 2.25 million users. We have over 100,000 daily actives.
That's incredibly fast.
We're profitable.
Yeah, well, that's incredibly fast. Very incredibly productive team, and a really, really a great, amazing pivot. So it's congratulations.
Thanks. Lots of lessons learned in the interim.
Yeah, I mean, I think to me the thing that's so difficult about these types of things in the trenches is, I just want to kind of get your perspective with respect to entrepreneurship, right? Because in a way, I have this kind of way of looking at things where I think about kind of feeling like something special is happening and something special is going to happen to me and this is really special, right? That's one mindset, right? And that mindset is really people who are willing to gut it out, right? Because they're basically like, well, I'm just going to gut it out because I watched all these movies where that's what the person did. The hero was, faced with troubles and then they overcame the troubles. And so something special, I'm special and something special is happening and I'm going to be the special one and it's going to be great. Right. And then there's the other feeling of like, wow, like nothing special is happening. This is not special at all. Like I have to pivot, right? Like this isn't happening. So can you talk a little bit about that? Because I feel like you really nailed that as an entrepreneur. And it's something that so many entrepreneurs out there struggle with so much because they just wake up almost every day and they're like, I'm pretty sure this isn't what success feels like, right? And so like, what I mean? So
Yeah.
then how do they decide? Like, it's like, do I pivot or do I stick to my guns, right? And it's kind of like, well, I've watched like 30,000 YouTube videos that tell me to stick to my guns, but like, is that even the right thing to do? So how did you experience that? Because you really did it right.
You know, Back in 2017, there was a lot of talk and not quite as much, I would say, uh, building, but building in a practical way, right? Not like just
Right.
building for the sake of building. And so, back in 2017, 2018, when we were just getting started with our initial concept, I was going out talking on the conference circle all the time, you know, and to be honest, there was not a lot of ROI. There was a lot of good networking, not a lot of ROI, right?
So
And truth be told,
you're really paying a lot of attention to kind of the industry and kind of business, right? So you're really looking for
yeah.
like where's the business?
And I just felt
Good perspective.
like a lot of the industry was very, there was a lot of philosophical dogma, right? And there's sometimes I feel like in crypto, there's almost this attitude of we're going to wipe the slate clean and start from anew. But then the downside of that is you end up not learning all the lessons that we've learned from Silicon Valley and the first tech boom for the last 20-30 years, right?
Yeah, reinvention.
So like for example, like just around UI and UX, like the UI and UX around crypto and blockchain today, super complicated, really hard for anyone except the most dedicated and technical savvy to like get on board, right? um And, and it's something the industry is still struggling with. And so, I think because my co-founder and I we're not in our 20s.
Yeah.
We've been around the block a little bit.
Yep.
And so we're like super practical. And so back in 2018, when we were like trying to do like sales calls with enterprises and other startups for this like, risk product around smart contracts,
Yes.
we found that, for enterprises, they're not even there. They're still learning about blockchain. They're
Yeah.
not going to be on smart contracts for another 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, I remember
For
those. I remember those advisory calls and whatnot. And yeah,
And
those
then for the
discussions.
ICOs, it was like, like they weren't really taking risk into account. Yeah. So, and so we're like, oh my God, like it's so hard to even make a sale. Like, what are we going to do? And we just tried a bunch of stuff. And I'm sure you guys were worried about us back then.
Of course.
And we kind of went into this stage where we're like, okay, we're just going to take the shotgun approach. We're going to try a bunch of different things and see what happens. So we did one experiment around security tokens. We did one experiment around games, and you know, there was not. We started adopting this attitude of it doesn't matter what the product is; it only matters about the numbers, right?
Yeah,
We
that's
just
great.
became super hardcore practical about numbers, 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 and so the game approach started taking off, and so we shut down all the other parts, all the other experiments, sold off other business lines, and then just started, doubling down, tripling down into the games product.
That's impressive. And to me, like the thing that's so interesting about this is that good entrepreneurship in my mind is very much balancing kind of the quantitative and the qualitative, right? And the quantitative, ultimately in the long run, the qualitative wins, right? In the long run, right? Because the qualitative is the domain that explains what events mean. What does that mean? What does that mean? But in the short run, the thing that's fascinating that you're saying is the quantitative is super important, because if nothing is happening, you can't explain it well. There's no story that can really fix nothing happened, right? Like you can't fix that with a story. Like that's a bad story, right? So in a sense, you kind of went into this mode where it's like, I just want quantity. I want something to happen, make something happen, show me something, right? So
Yeah,
you're running a
yeah,
lot of experiments where you were just looking for numbers. You're like, what, if anything happens, I'm going to like do that. That's fascinating. That's an amazing approach and insight, and and it clearly, demonstrably, like successful, right? Like and the thing that's amazing is that you have 4 game titles, and the game titles are all kind of like healthy. So like that's astonishing. Like that's an astonishing kind of hit rate for the game industry. Like like game companies typically don't have that experience, or they typically don't
yeah.
do that. That doesn't happen. So like tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's all about product market fit and understanding your user base. And, you know, I, I think my co-founder and I are super aware that a lot of people look at the crypto industry and the first thing they think about is scam, right? And so, and even if you look on, the Google Play Store or whatever apps, crypto apps there are out there today, some of them are scams. Like, I'm going to be totally honest, right? And
Yeah.
so, it came down to a lot of different things. When we first launched our first game, everyone in the company, and that includes myself and my co-founder, we did customer support every day.
Oh, that's so good.
And we still continue to do it, but not nearly as often.
Sure, sure.
uh,
It
but
also makes sense.
it really helped us because our users started telling us what they wanted, what they hated. We got to really shorten the feedback loop.
Tell me a story about any customer interaction from back then. Like anything that where you were like, oh, that's where you actually actioned it. Where you were like, okay, I'm going. Like that's novel. Like I learned something today. like we're going to do something. So
I mean, I feel like it happens like every week, right?
I see. So it's
But
a lot of suggestions,
yes,
and you're
yes,
really just chunking away doing this, all the things.
and sometimes the user doesn't know what the solution is, right? But there are things that we see, right? So if like 50% of our customer support tickets are asking like, hey, how do I cash out? That tells us, hey, we are
Ah,
not clear enough about the cash out
got it.
process,
Got it.
right?
Got
And
it.
so that means we have to reevaluate our design. We have to reevaluate, like, our app is worldwide,
Yeah.
but we know that not all our users can speak or read English. And we know them because they send in customer support tickets or they write Google reviews in different languages, or they'll
Ooh,
literally
wow.
write a customer support ticket that says, I can't read English. Can you translate your app into like our local language, right? And we don't
Amazing.
have localization capabilities today, but it tells us so much about who our user is.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. That's so interesting. Uh so I think earlier you were talking about kind of your twist, right? So, it sounds like you're saying like, hey, the NFT or non-fungible token collectible like thing, that's a very, very big part of what everyone kind of thinks of as blockchain gaming, right? So the question, without then kind of going into so-called like blockchain gaming, tell me kind of like how you see blockchain as a way for you to kind of like gain a competitive advantage. Like how has that worked out for you?
Yeah, I mean, so it's been a couple different things actually. So, I'll preface this by saying that I know not everyone likes Coinbase, and that's totally fine.
Sure.
But if you look at other rewarded cash apps on the Apple Store, on the Google Play Store, sometimes they feel very scammy because they tell you, hey, you have to earn $10, $40 of credit in order to cash out on a payment processor like PayPal, right? And they do that because of the transaction fee that's
Right.
involved with the cash out.
Yep.
But the problem is, if you read the reviews, the game basically seems like it's constructed so you can never actually cash out, right?
Yeah.
So I think very few people do, which is probably good for the company.
Yeah.
We have actually been able to democratize cash outs because currently the way we do it, there is no transaction fee. So we cash people out via Coinbase, at least for right now.
Yep.
And because it is an off-chain transaction, it's free. And so, our cash out minimum for most people, it's not the same for everybody, but our cash out minimum for most people, they basically only have to play the game for 5-10 minutes to experience a cash out. And
Wow.
because there's so little investment, it and they're able to cash out so early, they know like, hey, I've been paid, this is not a scam, right? And I think in crypto it's super important to earn the trust of your user because I feel like there's
I
so many
love
scams.
this. Your mindset is wonderful. I mean, one of the things that Andrew Mason said, the kind of founder of Groupon, is he basically said, user has opened your app. You've got about 10 seconds to show that you're valuable, right? And the way that Groupon solved the problem was you open the app and the first thing you see is like 70% off skydiving. Right. So, it's not that the person's like, oh my God, I've been wanting to go skydiving my whole life. It's like, no, like at least they can look at the screen and be like, I
Wow.
actually understand what this is about. Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
why do I care about this? Like they get it. Like they're like, well, I don't care for skydiving, but like I get 70% off of stuff. Like I get like that's a large discount on something. And then it's kind of like they scroll, right? Then they're like, well, okay, what else can I get? Because it's like that's a large discount. So like, I think that's kind of like you're actually talking more about a loop, and the
Yeah.
loop is more like, oh, I gain things and then I cash them out, but like to me, the thing that you're focusing on in like crypto or blockchain gaming is you're really focused on like, that first experience of like, is this some BS? Like, is this some scam thing that sucks? Is this some cheat way to cheat me? And it's kind of like immediately it's like, no, immediately like, okay, we're good. You're good. We're square.
But also fundamentally, we offer a completely different experience, right? Because let's say you go the other route of, I'm going to buy some crypto to get into crypto. Well, first you have to go get over that, like, oh my gosh, I might lose money feeling, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, connect bank accounts. Oh my God, this is all so hard. How do I store this stuff? Whereas for us, it's like, A, we're going to make it super easy for you. B, you're going to play games and earn money slash crypto.
Yeah.
And C, like the games are pretty fun, right? Like these are all like proven, tried and true games. And so fundamentally, just the attitude you have when you're onboarding through us onto crypto as opposed to like, an exchange or something, it feels a lot less scary.
Mm. That is very interesting. Can you kind of talk a little bit about sort of I guess I would say like the brand experience. Like what is it? Like what is it that people are thinking about? Like how do they understand like Bling? Like when they like what is Bling to them?
Yeah, I mean, I read a lot of our user reviews. I do customer support every couple weeks, right?
Amazing.
And so if I could characterize it, I would say that our users like that we put out games regularly, that we always pay, that
That's
we
great.
are responsive, and like it's just even like the little things, like we have a pinned tweet on our Twitter that says like we would never ask you for Bitcoin. And I feel like seeing stuff like that, it's like, yes, like we trust Bling and they're never going to rip us off and they're never going to
You
do
know,
the wrong thing.
the other day, Barack Obama asked me for Bitcoin on Twitter. So so that's what it's come to, this crazy world.
I know. Hey, they actually
Did he ask you
charged.
also?
No, they charged the kid. It was a 17-year-old in Florida.
They
Yeah,
found the kid?
they found the kid. It's a 17-year-old kid in Florida, and they charged two other people.
That's amazing. Okay, kids, crime doesn't pay. Sorry,
Does
just
not.
being funny. Actually, the kid that got Michael Turpin, we both know Michael, was
Hmm.
actually 15 years old at the time of these crimes, and the kid started buying like Lamborghinis and started like going bananas, and like he told his parents that he was really good at playing video games. Like he was like I'm so good at playing video games, I'm gonna buy a Lamborghini, and I'm 15. Like it's like you're a kid. Do you even have a permit? Like what's wrong with you? So they caught the Twitter kid.
Wow. Yes, yes.
Amazing.
So
Okay, that's a big giant digression. Sorry about
yeah.
that, but it's entertaining as hell. So I guess that's a big message. I think. I mean, one of the things that I really like is I like this juxtaposition, right? Because there's a juxtaposition of like, oh, this is so easy, this is so fun, like I'm really having a nice time here. But at the same time, the thing that's so funny is when you look at your backgrounds, it's sort of like legal and finance, right? And so the idea of like, oh, like they're so reliable and they're so responsive and they're so responsible and they're so transactional, like you know what I mean, like the feeling is like this is fun, but it's not some kind of, it's not like slippery, it's more like, no, this is really, I'm really joining something, like this is really regular, this is really like, I can handle this is trustworthy.
Well, the legal name of the company is technically Bling Financial, right? And like I
Yep.
said, my
Bling
co-founder and
5.
I both come from fintech, right?
Yeah.
And I think what we are doing is kind of looking at the crypto industry as a whole and saying, how do we improve this ecosystem? So the first part of that question was, how do we onboard new users to crypto in a positive, non-scary way? And now
Amazing.
we're doing it. And so I think step two of that question is, now what, right? A
Yeah.
lot of our users will write in being like, okay, so I've got Bitcoin now. Like, what do I do with this?
I
And so
played
I
2,000 hours of your game, and now I have a whole Bitcoin. Just kidding.
Probably not a whole Bitcoin,
No,
but
I'm just teasing.
you've got some stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people, like they're not immersed in the crypto community like you and me. They don't know anything about compound, DeFi lending, candles, reading candlesticks or whatever. They're just like regular people that are like,
They're not ready to take their currency and start yield farming. They're not like, let me at them.
yeah. And so, for us, I think that's probably going to start being the next step of our journey, which is okay, like,
Giving them yield
what
farming.
Well, I think
I'm
it's
teasing.
what can we do with our users, um, and help them with their crypto journey in a very simple way. Something that's not like totally overwhelming.
That's great. That's really that's inspiring and it's exciting. So I guess one of the things that I keep coming back to, even though I know that the theme of this is kind of crypto gaming, is I really want to kind of keep coming back to sort of like the entrepreneurship process, right? Because in a way, the two things that are notable, I think, is that you're really kind of first time startup company CEO. I think you've been tremendously good at it. So I guess my question would be like, what are the kinds of top lessons that you would impart from your journey, like in terms of like what are the top things where you'd be like, what I would say to myself if I had a time machine, I could go talk to myself back from when I started, like what would I say? Now obviously like maybe it isn't yourself, but maybe it's more like people in the audience, like what advice, especially in light of COVID, right? Because a lot of people now are kind of soul searching, so like
Yeah.
what would you say to kind of a struggling entrepreneur during this global pandemic?
Um, first of all, I think you have to be very ruthless, right? And you can't be
Fantastic.
too emotionally attached to anything, right? We have not had to let people go due to COVID-19,
Yeah.
but that's because we were already in crypto winter and already running things very conservatively, very leanly. But I know a lot of startups have not been doing that up until now, and I think you just got to react quickly to what the situation is. But just
Do you have any kind
more.
of ruthless stories that you can share? Or I guess it sounds like you didn't have to, but like, are there other ways in which ruthlessness plays into the narrative?
you know uh gosh we were super excited about a hire recently,
Yeah.
and they were coming from, or they were supposed to be going to a unicorn but had their offer rescinded
Yeah.
due to COVID-19.
Yeah.
We had to actually let them go after 3 days, even though we were like so super excited. We are
Yeah.
so stoked about this candidate. We
Yeah.
actually like didn't even go through the normal hiring process,
Oof.
right?
That's
So
tough.
what we learned about that: always go through the normal hiring process.
Yes.
And I think they had gotten through because we were really looking for someone with certain technical skills, and this person demonstrated it.
Yeah.
um, and we were willing to sacrifice a little bit on cultural fit. And I think after 3 days, we realized that the cultural fit issue was going to become a big issue.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I think that you're really reflecting on kind of what some people call like hire slow, fire fast, right? So, that is a form of kind of ruthlessness. So I really appreciate that. That's, because you're
Don't
really,
ever
yeah,
not follow your hiring process, because I have to tell you, it was a very traumatic
great.
experience for both my co-founder and I.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, but it's again, it's sort of like a hallmark of like success. So I really appreciate you sharing that. Other top hits.
The other thing I would just share more generally is I think you have to sort out and organize and make sure that your personal life is in a good place, before you're going to, go do all that successful stuff with your company, because otherwise it's just kind of like it's mental subconscious baggage, and I think it's going to hold you behind. So I'll invest in yourself, in your personal life, and do a lot of self-reflection.
That's brilliant, right? Because the thing that one of the reflections that I've had from some entrepreneurs over time is that like most startups kind of like run into sort of founder. It's funny. The word founder actually means like the boat crashes into some rocks, So it's kind of like the boat is founder, it's foundering, right? And it's kind of like, yeah, the company is foundering because the founder is like crazy, or you know what I mean. So like, I definitely think that one of the things I've noticed is that healthy people kind of like seek growth, right? That because
Mm-hmm.
if you're like healthy, then you're gonna grow, and that a lot of people who are kind of unhealthy, they get stuck, like they go into loops, right? And people who are kind of not that healthy are maybe kind of like kind of reenacting a trauma, like a past trauma, and they're kind of playing it out, like they're kind of
Yeah.
creating this drama, and they're kind of like they're enacting the drama onto their current reality, as opposed to kind of just dealing, right? Because it's like it's hard enough. Like the world as it
Yeah.
is hard enough. So like, it's better to just show up and be like, okay, like what's the actual problem, and not kind of make more problems. So that's super valuable. So that's
Yeah.
good. So get your life straight, get yourself sorted out, and like be in a good headspace. So
And
that's
make
a
sure your co-founder is too,
oh, that's
like
so
Dan's
interesting.
been awesome. Like he does this thing called Miracle Mornings, wakes up an hour earlier every day, journals,
An hour
reads
earlier every
affirmation.
day each day than the previous.
Yeah. Oh, well, oh, no, 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 not
I'm
not for
joking.
but it's and I totally understand why people say have a co-founder, right? Because it is a very lonely journey.
Yeah,
No one else understands what you're doing. And oftentimes, when we're talking, it's not even necessarily about the business. It's about like things happening in our families, like, oh, our emotional takeaways from this meeting, like a lot of it is so psychological. And you wouldn't
that's
think that.
fantastic.
Yeah, but it is.
That's great. I mean, we're all human beings, right? And I think that if you overcorrect against that, then like you're missing something that's foundational, and you're missing things like motivation, and you're missing a lot of really deep insights about like the human condition. So I think we do have to connect to that. So I think that might have been two, right? Which is sort of the ruthless quality, and then also kind of like clarity and kind of having your head straight. But like, is there another one?
Oh gosh. That's all I can really think about now, except, like
We can give you two out of that last one, because I think
he-
because the second one was like make sure your founder is two. That's a third. That could be
here's
split in
something
two.
for the crypto industry.
Oh, okay.
Um, be practical about your numbers, right? Like I feel like Um, I feel like in the crypto industry, people measure up against each other, but
Mm,
not necessarily metrics of, like standard Silicon Valley.
yeah.
And I get the temptation, but at the same time, uh, first of all, if you can't go by more traditional Silicon Valley metrics, it means you can never get, those types of investors. Um, but B, like, uh, sometimes crypto can be very much an echo chamber. And so I remember one of our experiments back in like, oh God, like end of 2018, we built this little thing. We were like a top DApp in like
Oh yeah.
December. We had like 90 daily active users, and we're
Oh my
like,
God.
that's awesome for the crypto industry,
That's great. That's great.
but like if you went out with those numbers as a regular startup, people would totally laugh at you.
Yeah.
So, don't compare yourself against, you know, just other people in the crypto industry. Compare it against like the broader world.
Yeah, that's good. That's great advice. So, yeah, so this has been, a really fascinating tour, and, really interesting. So I guess, the thing I'd like to kind of, do you have any other kind of parting advice?
You should download and play our games.
Yes, that's a gimme, right? And absolutely, I think I strongly encourage everyone to check it out. Even if you're already deeply into Bitcoin and everything else, I would definitely check out, Bling Fi, and I think you can grab it, on your local Android device.
Absolutely. And it will be coming to iOS soon.
Oh, exciting. Great. I'm glad to hear that. Okay. Well, thank you for coming on the Miko Bits show, and we'll chat soon.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Okay, bye.